That Bay Area. What's up, Richmond, CA? There's some real stuff right here.
I can't think about coming down here.
It's Aji, man.
Once upon a time.
Add on.
I knew how to rhyme.
Keep you at home. Me on. Me want to own. Me on type of flow.
That's all I got to say.
Me on.
Alright.
Me want to own. Me on type of flow.
Welcome back to another episode of the Add-On Podcast. Got a special guest, Mike Paxinos. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Yes, sir. Doing great. No problem. So first, start off, talk about your upbringing a little bit. How it was for you growing up, stuff like that.
Well, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona for the first 10 years of my life. It was great. I had a great childhood, great parents. My mom was an RN. My dad was a pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it was pretty... it was fun. We played out in the desert a lot. Didn't have the technology that we do now, so we played outside most of the time.
For sure.
Then we moved to Boulder City, 1980, and I've been here ever since. I haven't moved or nothing. So so I've been here for a long time.
Yeah. So what's kind of the key differences from AZ compared to Vegas? And
well, see, Arizona was.
I know it's both hot,
Both hot, but. Las Vegas is just a different culture altogether.
Right.
You shouldn't. In Las Vegas, you're really not surprised by seeing anything that's unusual.
Mm-hmm.
About people and just Elvis impersonators walking down. It's not a big thing, or slot machines in the 7-Elevens. But Arizona or any other place, it's certainly we're kind of an island. So I guess better best way to put it.
For sure. So how many brothers and sisters you kind of had growing up?
One older brother.
One older brother.
He was a superintendent. He's retired now, but he was a superintendent of a school up in Washington.
Gotcha. And kind of what are you doing now, in life, things like that?
Now I just teach right now. I teach at a private high school. No, I'm sorry.
For sure. Let's retract. So growing up, I always like to ask people, what was your career goal growing up? Is it what you're doing now? Was it something that kind of shifted, didn't quite get there, or was it something you just kind of didn't know you want to do, but you do now?
Yeah, it was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. It always shifted. When I got to college, I changed my major 8 times. Literally.
Wow, 8 times.
It was an odd thing because I started off with mechanical engineering because I just thought that was pretty cool, but then I couldn't pass the classes. I kept failing the math, I kept failing the science, the physics. So by the time I shifted to electrical engineering, to math, to physics, I just kept failing all this stuff, and finally I just went into a field that didn't require math.
Gotcha.
And ironically, I because my mathematics has always been something I loved, so I stuck with it, and I ended up teaching math in college and up to calculus and things like that. So
Makes
I
sense.
stuck with it, but I couldn't do the classes.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah. College ain't for everybody, man.
Yeah, it was just too much.
So now you can kind of see now you're a teacher now.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So I was teaching in college for about 17 years. Taught different math courses.
17
math to calculus.
What grades?
For the college?
Yeah.
It was freshman to all the way to senior year of college.
Okay,
it was,
for sure.
Basically basic math through calculus 2.
That's crazy. Calculus is really hard.
Yeah, I don't know, when you practice enough though, it's kind of all hard. It doesn't matter really. It's just what's the least hard, I guess, But
yeah.
But yeah, so I was doing that, and I loved it. The kids were great, and then I went to substitute at CCSD, and was an eye opener. I mean, actually, that's the irony of it all. It was an eye opener, but it wasn't because I graduated from CCSD all the way since 1980. I was a product.
Wow.
But I just saw some things I just didn't like. And that's what brought me into starting my own private high school.
Wow. Okay.
There's so much things that need to change.
For sure. So I want to get into that for sure too. Before we get into that though, what was it always did you strictly just teach college, or did you teach all grades, like kindergarten, first grade, second grade?
By now, yeah.
What would you say is your favorite and why?
Well, college is always my favorite because the students.
You don't want to deal with the little kids.
Yeah, you don't deal with the behavior. You don't deal with and they're always, most of them anyway. Most of 99% of students are serious and they want to have fun, but at the same time they're paying for this, and so they're very serious about the subject. But when you go to school, you're forced to go, and that's just a law. So of course you're going to have some pushback.
Got you.
But most of the kids were great, but there are a percentage that just makes it very difficult.
Understandable for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about you starting up your own private high school.
Yeah, so that's going to be in
high school, right?
High school.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's going to start in Las Vegas, and we don't. We intend to open in 2025.
Okay.
August of 2020. That's the hopes. We're looking for some funding and private investors. I got most of the curriculum complete. It's on the website. There's still some things that need to be polished up, but it's going to focus. It's very different from other high schools in two different ways. Number one, it's going to focus a lot on philosophy, which because philosophy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So my dad,
What's that?
My dad, philosophy. He's really heavy into that.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
For sure.
And so it's going to be basically the whole thing is rooted on Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato's writings. And if you ask most scholars these days, everything's the cornerstone of universities and how we learn, how we teach. It's all based on those three.
Right.
I mean, there's some variations and they stem off to different things, but for the most part, by the time you sift everything through, it's all in those three philosophers.
So how does that work, though? Like, how does that work? Starting up your own? Do you have to fund everything? Do you have to build a staff?
Right now, yeah, I'm looking for private investors to help me with it.
Wow.
That's the biggest problem. I have all the logistics down. I just need the money, and so I'm hoping that I can get my name out there, and they can look at the curriculum, believe in what I'm doing, and the cause that I'm doing.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now, and then giving it a couple years, hopefully.
For sure. That's a big deal. So just what kind of inspired you to do that, though, man? Because you don't see that every day. People just wanted to start their own.
No.
What inspired you?
Gosh, so many things. I have to just narrow it down to two things, but there really are a lot of companies. But I say the two major things was I've always loved philosophy, and I really think that if most students studied the learning process, not so much, how that analogy with the iceberg, you can see the tip, but but most of the mass is on the bottom. Well, I'm not so much interested on the tip as far as what they've concluded in their beliefs. I'm interested in how they got that. And I think if most schools taught this critical thinking of how philosophers use and how they learn and how they deduce things, not so much what they deduce, but how they did it.
Right.
If that was focused on in schools, we would be number one everywhere. So that's what I want. I want that. I want to enrich people in that perspective. And the other thing is, because of my experiences with the school, with the CCSD, a lot of things need to change. But one big thing is the interruptions and the disruptions in the classroom.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Teachers are great. It's not the teachers. It's not that CCSD has a problem with teachers. It's not the curriculum. It's just the behaviors. So with my school, I was inspired to be able to have my students that I know are there for serious work, because it's going to be a tough school. It's not an easy school.
For sure. And for the people out there who don't know what philosophy is, you don't got to break it all the way down, but kind of give some key points of what philosophy actually is.
Yeah, you bet. It's the best way I've heard it being explained is by Bertrand Russell. He was a philosopher, a mathematician, and he basically said it's between religion and science, and it's that big wasteland that's in between. And philosophy's job is to try to bridge the two together the best they can. You're never really going to get a definite answer to anything, because not all questions will have answers to them, but you can always, with philosophy, it guides you to at least one step closer, and it tries to accommodate for what science can't answer, because science can't answer everything in a lab. What's the meaning of life? You can't go to a lab to figure that out. Religion tries to answer those, but I think because of so many different religions in the world, things contradict, and it doesn't leave with a real definite thing. So, but philosophy is that nice middle ground where it can try to answer that, and those type of questions, I should say. So, and that's it in a nutshell, really.
Most definitely.
It's great. I love it. It's hard,
yes, sir.
But I love it, yeah.
So I got to ask you this, too, man, because I feel like, you being a teacher, my dad being a teacher for 20 plus years, do you think, teachers should be getting paid more salary?
Yeah.
Because, you got people like, not to cut you off, like they can work at Albertsons or Chipotle. They'll work their ranks up getting paid $250,000 a year. Like, that's way more than, some teachers make. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. We have to make up our mind as a society, do we want our kids to grow up to be smart or not? And, doctors and lawyers and all that stuff, they take care of our health because that's important. Not the doctors, not the lawyers, but, we got to take care of the mind of our kids. That's just as important as the physical health. So as a society, we need to make up our mind, what do we want. And teachers are the ones that are on the front line of all that. So if we're going to pay people their value with the work that they do, then pay them that value. My starting salary for my teachers at the school are going to be probably 30 grand higher than what CCESD pays. And I'm not going to budge on that either. I hope my investors won't be turned off by that, but I'm not budging on the salaries. So yeah,
respect.
Yeah.
You think the nation, like with the government and stuff like that, the president, and I'm not gonna get into what Biden doing, but you think they hear like people like you, your voices, like, and try to push them to get teachers more salary, or they're just like not even regarding her?
Well, at least I don't know about the federal part of it, but at least in the state of Nevada, it's always been on the back burner, and it's never been important to them.
You see all these protests, and then Nevada is like kind of ranked at the bottom as far as teaching.
At least give the teachers some extra money for babysitting.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
To try to teach, I've always said, at least give them that. But,
Gotcha.
So I wish they would take it more serious, but I don't think you can count on the government to make things better.
Okay, for sure. So outside of teaching, what do you like to do, for fun or anything like that?
I love biking. There's trails around here and go on my bike.
Oh, yeah.
I love the heat, the climate out here. Vegas has, been here forever, and I loved. I don't think I could ever move away. I know a lot of people think it's way too hot, but not me, man. I'll go out.
It's the desert, man.
I'll go out 115. I don't care, man. I love the heat.
Yes, sir.
It works well.
No state income tax.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Vegas is
absolutely.
It's a stuff. What's your thoughts on kind of everything coming down here? Like, Raiders kind of came down here. I heard the Oakland A's finna get down here, and then now they're increasing the rent and then the prices of housing and stuff like that. Is that gonna change your mind about staying in Vegas, or you kind of like everybody coming to Vegas?
I don't like people coming to Vegas, but I don't think anyone likes people coming to their town.
It's every tourist,
Yeah, it's just. I think it's great that the Raiders are here. I support them. I always do. I think. I hope they do great this year, and I buy their. I wear the shirts and I support them as much as possible. So I think it's good for the city to have professional teams here. But yeah, the side part of that, like you said, is you're going to have to sacrifice the rent going up. And
crazy, man.
All sorts of different things, and I'm not too happy about that. My wife and I, our family, we've been affected by that. Nothing we can do about it, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Gotcha, man. So I feel like too, ever since the pandemic, 2020, it's been getting the world has just been getting people you hear all the time, the end times is coming, and it's the it's just I don't know, ever since I feel like 2020, it's just the world has gotten more evil and demonic, especially within the music industry. What's your thoughts on that? Just the whole world just praising Lucifer pretty much, you see it every day on TikTok, social media.
I think if you look at history, world history, not just the United States, but when you go back to just thousands of years, people would burn people at a stake just for believing something that they didn't believe,
Right.
And these are governments that would do this. People, governments would just randomly do things that we would think are completely, why didn't the world end then, So the evil and things that are going down, I'm not really I'm always concerned about it because I have children, I'm always concerned about it. But
What's
as far as being over concerned, no. When you look at a perspective, the whole history of the world, we're actually much better off now than we were back in I don't know, 1,000 years ago. You know,
For sure.
As far as how we treat each other.
What's one thing you would change though, like in the society? What's one thing? Would it be, like I said, would it be going back to that teaching, better, education for the kids? Would it be anything like, as far as the economy go? What like if you were like kind of in that mix in like the government, the office, somewhere in there? What would you put your handprint in to try to change?
I know I'm
better the
biased.
society.
I know I'm biased because I'm an educator, but the thing is, I really believe that every social ill that America has, or anyone really for that matter, any country, can be rooted into lack of education. If you think about it, the smallest minority there is the individual, and if the individual can't think for themselves, then neither can the whole collective society. Okay, and what that means is that the people above them that rule them, they own you, you know, because you can't think. You get people thinking. Better look out, man. You better look out. When I was, there's no shortage of data out there that low income and low educational level will go hand in hand. Yeah, it's all over the place. And I used to work at the jail, Clark County Detention Center. Wow. I worked there in 2000 through 2003, and they're all adults. Okay, so these are from 18-year-olds to however 60, 70. Right. A lot of them wanted to, they have to write what's called kites, and I forget this acronym, what it stands for, but basically they have to write down what they request from the psychological department, meds or whatever the case may be. Every time I always had to go up and talk to them because I couldn't understand what they're writing. They didn't know how to write. Okay, they just couldn't read, they couldn't write. And these are adults, and they're in prison. So it's just not, the data in the, it's just right there slapping us all in the face with it, and we just kind of, unfortunately, we tend to just gloss over it and think that there's other things to worry about.
Gotcha. For somebody like me, my age group, Generation Z, 20 years old, what advice would you give me, somebody trying to, accomplish their goals, but as somebody like me that don't want to take the college route, what would be your advice to me? Or anybody trying
what you're doing right now. Don't follow the crowd. College isn't for everyone, and you put your mind on a goal, and then you do it, and then you take and there's going to be a lot of distractions to you. Everyone's going to throw this at you, and they're going to get in your way, whether it be talking down to you or just trying to distract you to this and that. Yeah. If that camera's your goal, and that's all you're looking at, if you look at nothing else, until you reach it.
Most definitely.
Inches and inches, those inches will turn into miles eventually.
Yes, sir, for sure. Last question for you, man. What would be your add-on to the youth? Just like, because obviously, you like, in the teaching field and things like that. And what would be your add-on to the world? Like something you want to add on to them?
Oh, add-on, huh? I would, this is corny. It's cheesy, but I believe it. And what I see a lot is ungratefulness around there.
Oh, most definitely.
A lot of people are just ungrateful for things. And I understand that a lot of people, it's justified. I get that. It is the circumstance that they're in. But when you're ungrateful all the time, it wears you down, and it wears your mind down, and you're not able to really function. So I think
most definitely
grateful, looking at the things that are in your favor, and then just trying to work with that. I know it's cheesy and it might even be naive, because some people really are in a very, very tough situation. It's like, how are you supposed to be grateful when all this is, whether it be poverty or what have you. So I get that, and I'm not unsympathetic to it, but I think being grateful for things is going to be really how we press forward.
Most definitely, for sure. Anything you want to shout out? Any social media or any business you got going on before we wrap it up?
I have a YouTube channel. It's called Pax Academia, PAXACADEMIA, and that's the name of my website too, .com, the school's website. But it's also, and basically I'm working on a tutorial of how to build a computer from scratch.
How to build a computer from scratch?
Yeah, what I mean by that isn't just buying parts and assembling them. It's basically working with the transistors and the resistors and actual electric components. And so, check it out.
What's that thing we used to learn in school with the computers? What was it called? coding.
Oh,
Is that
coding,
is there anything
yeah.
to do with that or no?
It's this is the hardware part of the computers. That's the software.
Gotcha.
So I'm building the hardware where you're allowed to code onto it. So it is a programmable, but it's going to be in the assembly language. It's not like C+ or anything like that.
Gotcha. Yep. Subscribe to his YouTube, man. Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Big things coming. School hopefully coming in 2025.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Thanks.
Make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'm going to see you guys next episode.